Every morning, millions of adults over the age of 50 lace up their walking shoes with the same goal to stay healthy, stay active, and stay independent for as long as possible. They walk through parks, around neighborhoods, and on treadmills, believing that every step is an investment in a stronger future, and in many ways, they're absolutely right. Walking is one of the best things you can do for your heart. It improves circulation, supports your brain, helps control blood sugar, boosts your mood, and lowers the risk of many chronic diseases. For decades, doctors and health organizations have encouraged people to walk more because the evidence supporting its benefits is overwhelming. But what if one of the biggest assumptions about walking isn't completely true? What if walking is excellent for your health, but not enough to keep your legs truly strong as you grow older? Think about it for a moment. Have you ever met someone who walks every single day yet still struggles to climb a flight of stairs? Someone who easily finishes a morning walk but needs both hands to stand up from a low chair? Or maybe you've noticed it in yourself. You can still cover several miles without much trouble, but carrying groceries, getting off the floor, or climbing a steep hill somehow feels harder than it did just a few years ago. At first, it doesn't make sense. If walking is so healthy, why do so many active adults still lose strength? Is aging simply unavoidable, or is something much more fascinating happening beneath the surface? In this documentary, we're going to answer those questions by exploring the incredible science hidden inside your muscles. You'll discover why your legs begin changing after the age of 50, even if you've stayed active your entire life. We'll uncover the surprising role your nervous system plays in strength, reveal why endurance and muscle power are not the same thing, and explain why one simple resistance exercise can challenge your legs in a way that thousands of daily steps often cannot. Along the way, we'll separate common myths from scientific evidence. We'll examine what researchers have learned about healthy aging, muscle loss, balance, and independence. Most importantly, we'll explore practical strategies that can help you move with greater confidence for years to come. But here's something important. This documentary isn't about proving that walking is bad. It isn't. In fact, by the end of this video, you'll understand why walking should remain one of the most valuable habits in your life. The real question isn't whether you should stop walking. The real question is whether walking alone is asking enough of your muscles to keep them strong for the decades ahead. Because once scientists began looking more closely at how muscles actually age, they uncovered something that changed the way experts think about strength forever. The biggest problem wasn't just that muscles were getting smaller. The real surprise was that many people were losing strength long before they lost much muscle at all. That discovery opened an entirely new chapter in the science of aging. And to understand why, we first need to take a journey inside your legs into a microscopic world where your brain, your nerves, and thousands of muscle fibers work together every single time you take a step. Because hidden inside that remarkable system lies the answer to a question that could completely change the way you think about exercise after 50. Let's begin. Part 2. The hidden machinery inside your legs. Take a moment and picture yourself climbing a flight of stairs. It seems almost effortless. One foot rises, then the other. Your knees bend, your hips extend, your balance constantly adjusts, and within a few seconds you're standing at the top without giving the process a second thought. It feels simple. But beneath the surface, something astonishing is happening. Every single step is the result of millions of microscopic events unfolding in perfect sequence. Your brain sends electrical signals through your spinal cord. Those signals travel along nerves, reaching thousands of individual muscle fibers. Some activate immediately. Others remain silent, waiting for a greater challenge. And that's where the real story begins. Because your body doesn't use every muscle fiber every time you move. In fact, it would be incredibly wasteful if it did. Imagine owning a company with 100 employees. If every employee rushed to solve every tiny task, the company would waste enormous amounts of energy. Instead, you assign only the number of workers needed for each job. Your nervous system works in almost exactly the same way. When you're doing something easy, walking across your living room, strolling through the park, or standing in line at the grocery store, your brain recruits only the muscle fibers required to complete that task efficiently. The rest remain on standby. At first, that sounds like brilliant engineering. And it is. Your body is constantly trying to conserve energy, because throughout human history, energy was a precious resource. Our ancestors couldn't assume another meal was waiting around the corner. Every calorie mattered. So evolution favored a nervous system that solved problems with the smallest possible effort. That strategy helped humans survive for thousands of years. But today, it creates an unexpected challenge. Most modern movement simply isn't demanding enough to wake up your body's full potential. To understand why, we need to meet two very different groups of muscle fibers. Scientists generally classify skeletal muscle fibers into two main functional categories. The first are often called slow-twitch fibers. Think of them as marathon runners. They're remarkably efficient at producing low levels of force for long periods. They're packed with mitochondria, the tiny structures that help convert oxygen into usable energy, and they resist fatigue exceptionally well. Whenever you walk, stand, or perform other low-intensity activities, these fibers do most of the work. They're reliable, efficient, enduring. Without them, even a leisurely walk around the block would become exhausting. But they're only half the story. Hidden alongside them are another group known as fast-twitch fibers. If slow-twitch fibers are marathon runners, fast-twitch fibers are sprinters. If slow-twitch fibers are sprinters, these fibers specialize in producing powerful bursts of force. They help you rise quickly from a chair. They help you climb steep stairs. They help you prep yourself if you trip. They help you jump over a puddle or lift a heavy box. The trade-off is that they tire much more quickly. They're designed for power, not endurance. And here's where one of the biggest misunderstandings about exercise begins. Many people assume that because walking uses the legs, it automatically trains every important muscle inside those legs. But your nervous system doesn't think that way. Remember the company analogy. If a simple task only requires 20 employees, why call in all 100? Walking on level ground usually doesn't demand enough force to recruit large numbers of those powerful fast-twitch fibers. Your brain simply doesn't need them. Instead, it keeps relying on the efficient endurance system that's already doing the job. At first glance, this seems completely harmless. After all, you're still moving, you're still burning calories, you're still doing something healthy. And you are? Walking deserves every bit of its reputation as one of the best activities for heart health, circulation, mood, and overall longevity. But if your specific goal is building stronger legs, something important is missing. Imagine owning a powerful sports car but never driving faster than 20 miles per hour. The engine remains capable of incredible performance, but it never receives a reason to demonstrate it. Over time, unused capacity gradually disappears. Your muscles behave in much the same way. The body is remarkably efficient. If certain muscle fibers are rarely called upon, maintaining them becomes biologically expensive. Little by little, your body begins investing fewer resources in systems it believes you no longer need. And this process becomes increasingly important after the age of 50. But here's the fascinating part. It isn't simply the muscle fibers that change. The communication system controlling those fibers changes too. Picture a city filled with thousands of streetlights. Now imagine the electrical wiring connecting those lights slowly becoming less efficient over the years. The bulbs themselves may still work perfectly, but if the signal arriving at each light becomes weaker or slower, fewer lights illuminate when they're needed. Something remarkably similar happens inside the aging nervous system. The nerve cells responsible for activating muscle fibers gradually decline in number. Some surviving nerve cells attempt to reconnect with abandoned muscle fibers, creating larger but less precise motor units. It's an impressive repair mechanism, yet it isn't perfect. Movements become less explosive. Reaction times slow slightly. Fine control becomes more difficult. This is one reason many adults notice that balance feels different, long before they notice dramatic muscle loss. The muscles haven't simply vanished. The conversation between the brain and those muscles has become less efficient. That discovery completely changed how scientists think about aging. For decades, researchers focused mainly on muscle size. Today, many experts recognize that strength depends just as much on how effectively the nervous system recruits existing muscle as it does on the amount of muscle itself. That's also why people beginning resistance training often experience noticeable improvements within the first few weeks, even before they build significant new muscle. The nervous system is learning. It becomes better at recruiting muscle fibers that were always there but weren't being fully utilized. It's almost like discovering extra horsepower hidden beneath the hood of a car you've owned for years. But this raises an even bigger question. If your body is capable of recruiting these powerful fibers, why doesn't it do so during ordinary walking? The answer has almost nothing to do with distance. It has everything to do with demand. And that single principle, how your body decides when enough force is finally enough, may be the most important concept in the entire documentary. Because once you understand the biological trigger, you'll see exactly why one simple movement can stimulate your legs in a way that thousands of daily steps never can. If your muscles are capable of producing far more force than they usually do, what finally convinces your body to use that hidden strength? At first, you might think the answer is simple. Walk farther, walk faster, walk longer. It sounds logical. After all, if a little exercise is good, wouldn't more of the same simply produce more strength? Surprisingly, your body doesn't work that way. Imagine trying to teach someone to lift heavy furniture by asking them to carry a feather all day. They would become incredibly efficient at carrying feathers, but when the time came to move a refrigerator, nothing about that practice would have prepared them for the challenge. Your muscles learn in much the same way. They don't adapt primarily to how long you work. They adapt to how difficult the work actually is. That distinction may sound small, but it changes everything. Scientists call this principle mechanical tension. It's one of the most important concepts in exercise physiology, yet outside of sports science, very few people ever hear about it. Mechanical tension is exactly what it sounds like. It's the amount of force your muscles must generate while resisting a load. The greater the challenge, the stronger the biological signal telling your body, we need to become stronger for next time. And that's the message your body has been listening to for your entire life. Think back to when you first learned to carry heavy grocery bags. At first, your arms and legs probably felt tired almost immediately. A few weeks later, the same bags felt noticeably lighter. The groceries hadn't changed. Your muscles had. Your body had quietly remodeled itself to match the demands you placed upon it. That's one of the most remarkable characteristics of human biology. It is constantly asking a simple question. What kind of body do I need to survive the life this person is living? If your daily routine requires walking several miles, your body becomes more efficient at walking. If your routine requires lifting, climbing, pushing, and rising against resistance, your body begins investing in strength. It always adapts to the problem you repeatedly ask it to solve. And that's where walking reaches its natural limit. Walking is wonderfully efficient. In fact, it's so efficient that after years of doing it, your body becomes extremely good at completing the task while using as little energy as possible. From an evolutionary perspective, that's a brilliant design. But from a strength perspective, that's a challenge. Because efficiency means your muscles experience less mechanical demand, not more. It's almost like solving the same easy math problem every day. Eventually, your brain stops learning because nothing new is being asked of it. Your muscles behave in a remarkably similar way. This brings us to a concept that exercise scientists call progressive overload. The name sounds technical, but the idea is beautifully simple. If you want your body to keep adapting, the challenge must gradually increase. Not dramatically, not recklessly. Just enough to convince your muscles that today's abilities won't be sufficient tomorrow. That's why resistance training works so differently from ordinary walking. Each repetition asks your muscles to overcome meaningful resistance. Each repetition sends a clear biological message. This wasn't easy. Prepare for this to happen again. And your body listens. But here's something many people don't realize. That signal doesn't come from pain. It doesn't come from exhaustion. And it certainly doesn't come from sweating. It comes from effort. You can finish a resistance workout barely sweating at all, yet create a much stronger strength-building stimulus than someone who walked for an hour. Because your muscles don't measure effort by the amount of perspiration on your shirt. They measure it by the force they had to produce. That's why two exercises lasting exactly the same amount of time can create completely different biological responses. One challenges endurance. The other challenges strength. Both are valuable. They're simply teaching the body different lessons. Now this raises another fascinating question. If resistance is the secret, why not choose any resistance exercise? Why are physical therapists, sports scientists, and strength coaches so interested in movements performed on one leg? The answer begins with something most of us never notice. Take a moment and stand on one foot. Don't worry, you don't actually have to do it right now. Just imagine it. Almost instantly, dozens of tiny muscles around your ankle, knee, hip, and even your core begin making microscopic adjustments. Some contract, others relax. Your nervous system performs hundreds of tiny corrections every second simply to keep you upright. None of that happens consciously. Your brain is solving an incredibly complex balancing problem without asking for your permission. Now compare that with standing on both feet. Suddenly, the challenge becomes much smaller. Your base of support is wider. Your balance becomes easier. Your stabilizing muscles don't have to work nearly as hard. This is one reason single-leg movements have attracted so much attention in rehabilitation and sports science. They're not simply strengthening the large muscles you can see. They're also training the smaller muscles responsible for balance, stability, and joint control. Those hidden muscles rarely receive much attention, yet they often become critically important as we age. Think about the last time you stumbled on an uneven sidewalk. You probably didn't have several seconds to think about what to do. Your body reacted instantly. One leg caught your weight, your hip stabilized, your ankle adjusted, your muscles fired in a precise sequence that prevented a fall. That entire rescue operation happened in less than a second. And here's the remarkable part. Those life-saving reactions can be trained, not perfectly, not infinitely, but significantly. That's why many modern exercise programs for older adults don't focus only on building bigger muscles. They also emphasize improving coordination, balance, and the nervous system's ability to respond quickly. Because in the real world, strength and balance almost never work separately. They're partners. And when both improve together, everyday movements begin feeling easier, safer, and more confident. But before we declare one exercise the clear winner, we need to slow down for a moment. This is where many fitness videos become misleading. They often present a single movement as if it possesses almost magical qualities. Real science paints a more interesting picture. No single exercise is perfect for everyone. A step-up may be ideal for one person. A split cut may suit another. Someone recovering from knee surgery may begin with a simple sit-to-stand. Another person with excellent mobility may benefit from loaded step-ups or Bulgarian split squats. The principle matters more than the specific exercise, and that principle is surprisingly consistent. Choose a movement that safely challenges your leg muscles, requires meaningful effort, allows gradual progression, and can be performed with good technique. That's the formula your muscles recognize. Not the name of the exercise, not the equipment, not the trend. But there's still one mystery left to solve. If your body responds so well to resistance, why do many people notice meaningful improvements within just a few weeks long before they build visibly larger muscles? The answer has very little to do with muscle growth. Instead, it reveals one of the fastest and most fascinating adaptations the human body can make. And once you understand it, you'll realize that your greatest strength might already be there, simply waiting for your brain to learn how to use it. Imagine two people starting the exact same exercise program today. Both are over 50. Both have spent years believing that walking was enough. Both perform the same number of repetitions, at the same pace, with the same determination. Now imagine checking their muscles just 2 weeks later. You probably expect to see noticeably bigger legs, but that's not what scientists usually find. In fact, one of the most surprising discoveries in exercise physiology is that your earliest gains in strength often have very little to do with growing new muscle. The first transformation happens somewhere far less obvious. It happens inside your nervous system. Think back to the first time you learned to drive a car. At the beginning, every movement demanded your attention. You had to think about the steering wheel, the mirrors, the pedals, and the traffic all at once. It felt awkward because your brain was still building the pathways needed to coordinate those actions. Months later, something changed. You weren't stronger. You hadn't grown new muscles in your hands or feet. Your brain had simply become better at controlling what was already there. Strength works in a surprisingly similar way. When you begin performing challenging leg exercises, your nervous system becomes more efficient at recruiting muscle fibers. Signals travel more effectively. Muscles begin working together with better timing. Movements become smoother, stronger, and more confident. It's almost as if your brain discovers equipment it forgot it owned. That explains why many people notice climbing stairs feels easier within the first few weeks of resistance training, even though significant muscle growth usually takes longer. Their muscles haven't dramatically changed in size. Their nervous system has simply become better at using them. This is one of the most encouraging messages for anyone beginning after 50. You don't have to wait months before your body starts responding. Your body begins adapting almost immediately. But here's something equally important. Those early improvements only continue if you give your body a reason to keep adapting. Imagine reading the same page of a book every day for 6 months. Eventually, nothing new happens. Your brain stops learning because there's no new challenge. Your muscles follow the same principle. If the exercise never becomes more demanding, your body eventually concludes that its current abilities are perfectly adequate. Growth slows, progress levels off. This is why progression matters, not because every workout should feel harder than the last, but because your body responds to gradually increasing challenges. That increase can be surprisingly small. Perhaps you perform one more repetition. Perhaps you slow the lowering phase to make the muscles work longer. Perhaps you use a slightly higher step. Perhaps you add a small amount of weight. Each adjustment sends a familiar biological message. We need to be ready for something slightly more difficult. And your body responds. Now let's return to the question that started this documentary. If walking is healthy, and it absolutely is, where does it fit into all of this? The answer is beautifully simple. Walking and strength training are partners, not competitors. Walking nourishes your cardiovascular system. It improves circulation. It supports metabolic health. It helps manage stress. It encourages consistent movement throughout the day. These are extraordinary benefits. Removing walking from your routine would mean giving up one of the most accessible forms of exercise ever studied. But walking was never designed to do every job. Just as brushing your teeth doesn't replace visiting the dentist, walking doesn't replace the need to challenge your muscles with meaningful resistance. Each serves a different purpose, and together they create something far more powerful than either one alone. This also helps us separate fact from fiction. One of the biggest myths in fitness is the promise of a single perfect exercise. Real science is rarely that absolute. The truth is that several movements can build stronger legs. Step-ups, split squats, Bulgarian split squats, sit-to-stand exercises, traditional squats, even carefully supervised resistance machines. Each has advantages. Each has limitations. The best exercise isn't the one that looks impressive on social media. It's the one you can perform safely, consistently, and with gradually increasing challenge. That's the principle supported by decades of research, and perhaps that's the most important lesson of all. Your body doesn't recognize exercise by its name. It recognizes effort. It recognizes challenge. It recognizes repetition. And above all, it recognizes consistency. Think about that for a moment. Your muscles don't know whether you're standing in a luxury gym, your living room, or on your front porch. They don't know whether you're holding expensive equipment or simply lifting your own body weight. They only know whether today's challenge requires them to become a little stronger than yesterday. That realization changes the conversation about aging. Instead of asking, "How do I stop getting weaker?" perhaps the better question is, "What message am I sending my body every day?" Because every movement is a message. Every habit teaches your body what kind of future you expect it to prepare for. If your days are filled only with comfortable movement, your body becomes exceptionally efficient at comfort. If your routine occasionally asks for strength, balance, and control, your body begins investing in those qualities instead. That's one of the remarkable things about human biology. Even after 50, even after 60, even after 70, your body continues listening. It continues adapting. It continues responding to the challenges you provide. No exercise can stop aging. No workout can guarantee perfect health. And no single movement is a miracle. But science consistently points towards something deeply encouraging. The human body remains adaptable far longer than most people. Every carefully performed repetition becomes a small investment in future independence. Every challenging movement teaches your muscles and your nervous system to work together a little better. Every session strengthens more than your legs. It strengthens your confidence in what your body is still capable of becoming. So tomorrow morning, when you lace up your walking shoes, don't stop walking. Keep enjoying the fresh air. Keep supporting your heart. Keep taking those daily steps. But before your walk or after it, consider spending just a few focused minutes asking your legs to solve a different problem. Ask them to push, to lift, to stabilize, to work just a little harder than yesterday. Because the goal isn't simply to add years to your life. It's to add strength to the years you already have. And perhaps that's the most important distinction of all. The strongest legs aren't built by chasing the perfect exercise. They're built by understanding how the body learns, respecting what science actually tells us, and showing up consistently enough to let that remarkable process unfold. After all, your legs have carried you through every chapter of your life. With the right kind of challenge, there's every reason to believe they can keep carrying you through many more.